In this video, I'm going to share with you the #1 technique that took me from a no to a pro with MRI anxiety. I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS. Let's go. How do I deal with my MRI anxiety? I'm Cliff, and this is Life with MS. Let's get into it. You know, floating around really requires just a lot of energy and is, well, quite fatiguing. Thanks for being here today. I want to talk about MRI anxiety because I think it affects a lot of people. It initially affected me quite a bit. If you've been watching my channel, you would know that, well, I suffer from pretty bad anxiety thanks to my multiple sclerosis. And I also believe it's not just my multiple sclerosis, it's part of my character. I'm just pretty kind of an anxious person. I've got a lot going on in my mind all the time. And you put MS on that and it's kind of an S show. And so I've developed all kinds of little tools to help me deal with my anxiety, though I would have to say it's constantly a work in progress. And I actually talked about some therapy stuff that I did in the episode I did yesterday. That will be linked in the description below. But I thought after 7 to 8 years of dealing with MS and getting tons of MRIs, I wanted to share with you my experiences with things that really calm me down and help me deal with the MRIs, because one of the problems with MRIs now is they just take a long time. If you've got to get imaging of your head, neck, and spine, you're going to be there a while. My last MRI when I was in the emergency room a few months ago took over 2.5 hours. That's a long time to sit in one place on a hard table, and let's be honest, those things are not comfortable. This video is for someone that might have a little bit of anxiety about lab procedures and also MRIs. It's for someone that's probably newly diagnosed and hasn't been through the whole thing, but even if you still deal with all these anxiety issues and you've had MS for a long time, maybe you'll learn something from it. So stick around and also comment below if you have a technique that works for you, because I think other people, including myself, would absolutely love what you have to say. Okay, so I'm kind of on fire today because, well, I slept really well last night. It dropped way down into the 40s here in North Carolina, and when it's cold, I sleep awesome. My spasms don't really bother me. Tonight, it's going to be warm, so I want to get this video out today before things get kind of crazy with this system body thing going like this all the time and just burning a lot of energy but not actually doing anything but making me jerk around. So when I was first diagnosed, the thought of getting an MRI didn't really bother me. I had been in them before, but they had never really taken that long. They were not MS related at that point. However, I didn't understand that a diagnostic MRI for something like MS can take a long time. And so I had to learn that I'm not going in there for 10 minutes and then coming out. I'm going to be there a while. And what I realized on that first diagnostic MRI that was almost 2 hours long, that even people that don't have claustrophobia can get pretty anxious inside that plastic tube when you don't have much visibility around you. And you're also way in there and you can just barely see your feet. And in some cases, they have to immobilize your head and put it like in a little cage thing so it doesn't move while they're doing the imaging. And I think for some people that aren't used to like wearing helmets and stuff, that could be really nerve-wracking. Now, it doesn't bother me too much, but being stuck in one place, not being able to move for several hours on my back is very problematic, especially with the MS spasming all the time. So what are some things I can do to help alleviate the anxiety? I can't get rid of it completely because it's just not a fun process. But what I've learned is I call ahead and set my expectations. I ask a lot of questions, and often the questions I ask to people that work at the MRI centers are really kind of in-depth because I'm an engineer and a geek and I just kind of want to know things. So what are some things I ask to help alleviate the anxiety? Okay, how long is the scan going to take? Now, what I've learned is regardless of what they tell you, add 30 minutes to 45 minutes to the end of it because things may not go as planned. What they're giving you is a minimum time, not a maximum time. Sometimes you'll get a maximum time, but rarely. Secondly, when I'm in the MRI, will there be music or headphones or earplugs? Now, MRI machines are loud, very loud. Most of the time, I get earplugs that they put in my ears, but I've also been in ones where they give me music and they let me choose what the music is I want to hear. And that is pretty darn relaxing, except you really don't have control of the tracks. You only have control the type of music. So I choose 80s music, big hair band stuff, because, you know, that's what I'm into. If you watch my videos, you know, kind of influenced by my 80s raising. There's also another thing they can do, and it doesn't often happen in my experience, and I've been in a lot of MRIs. They put a little cage over your head with a mirror so you can see the operator through the little hole cave thing so you can see the outside world. That's relaxing to some people. It doesn't really bother me. It's nice to have, but it's not a need to have because I often close my eyes, and that's for a very specific reason. An MRI for me is like a meditation session. I have a kid in my family and 2 dogs that are crazy. So the idea of being put in a tube and left alone for 2 hours can sometimes feel really inviting. Call ahead. Ask what to expect. If you're going to be super nervous or super anxious, let them know ahead of time that you're coming in with some serious anxiety issues. They have dealt with it, I promise you. Ask what to wear. You want to be comfortable. I often wear like running pants and a shirt like this, just loose cotton. Sometimes they'll put me in their own gown. Boy, those are sexy, real sexy.
Look at her skirt.
Yeah. So what to drink or eat, and I have learned this is critical. I have to eat about every hour to keep the MS under control. My MS does not like to be destabilized from a routine eating schedule. It's just like eating big meals and then tapering off just doesn't work for me. I kind of just nibble all day long. And to lay in an MRI for 2 to 2.5 hours means my stomach's going to growl, my mouth is going to get dry, I'm going to get very uncomfortable. And so I have to plan ahead. So what I'll do is I'll eat like a really clean protein, like an egg or something that takes a long time to digest. And it provides a lot of good, stable energy. It doesn't have sugars that are triggering things. And I also limit how much I'm going to drink. Even though I want to be hydrated, I can't completely fill up, or I'm going to have to pee through the middle of the first scan, second scan, and third scan. And so one thing I could recommend is if you're worried about that and you really don't know what to eat or drink before, then call and ask. Like they deal with this all day long. Someone is going to know. Now, not all MRI techs, those are the people that run the systems, are created equal. Some are really good and empathetic and will work with you and your MS. And if you're having issues, they'll work with you and get through it. The last MRI tech I had was fantastic. I was having spasms like crazy because I'd just come out of the emergency room and my body was all over the place. And I just told him, hey, I can't be still. This is not going to work. Like my legs were all over the place. My chest was spasming really bad. Part of the reason I was there. And, they worked with me, they said, you need to come out and stretch out a little bit, get some oxygen in your system, and then go back in. And so that's what we did. If things get really bad, and I know I need to head off the anxiety because it's going to cause a lot of spasms before I even get into the MRI place, I will ask my neurologist to prescribe a little something to take the edge off. Now, the caveat with this is I can't drive myself there and I can't drive myself back because usually this thing needs to be taken an hour before the procedure and it lasts long after the procedure, like another hour or so, and it just would not be safe to drive. So there have been instances where I don't have a driver and I just have to deal with my own mind and get through it. And I'll tell you how I do that here in a second. But there are other times when I think things are going to go bad. I have this stuff on hand and I will take it and ask someone like my wife or a neighbor to drive me to the procedure, to get the procedure done. I would never drive with that stuff in my system because I gotta tell you, it really relaxes me a lot. Okay, so what are some things specifically that I do that help deal with the anxiety and the claustrophobia and all that stuff inside that tube? Well, this is kind of unique to me because I like numbers. It might even be some kind of spectrum thing. I have no idea. I'm really into like numbers. When I close my eyes, I start to breathe really, really slow. Inhale and exhale, and I count those breaths. But at the same time, I'm counting down from 30. And when I think of numbers, I see numbers in front of me, even if my eyes are closed. And I always start with 30, and I start going back. And if I'm hyperventilating from the stress or the anxiety, counting the numbers for some reason seems to really regulate it. I'm sure it's some kind of meditation. It's something that I've worked on for years, and it seems to just really take the edge off. It's also something, if you watched a previous video, that I learned from surfing when I got stuck under a big wave and I was held down under the water until the big wave sets rolled through. I learned to really just relax and not burn a lot of oxygen and just go with the process. And closing my eyes and finding those numbers in my space really helps. So this is going to be weird, but I'm going to walk you through how I do it right now. And you're going to do it with me. And I think if you want to try it, it's actually kind of fun. So I close my eyes first, and I take a big deep breath in, and then I breathe out slow. And that's part of it, is remembering how to breathe. Actually, that's a huge part of it. And then I start from my number 30, and I see the 30 in front of me, and I start counting down, and I go 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22. Okay, you can wake up now. And I will take that all the way down to 1. And usually right around number 15, I really get a sensation of calmness because I think my breathing is really regulated now. A lot of people will say if you're highly stressed and you're kind of hyperventilating, I think it's breathing through the mouth and then exhale through the nose, or vice versa. I just do it all through my mouth because I usually have sinus infections from a DMT, and so breathing through my nose can be quite difficult. But by just regulating the pressure on my lips, it does help. It helps a lot. And this particular technique has taken me from like full red zone, nutcase, completely out of control, anxiety-ridden mess, to really finding my center. And actually, I just used it in my last oral surgery last week with the help of some prescription assistance. But I closed my eyes, envisioned things, the numbers, and I just worked my way through it. Before I knew it, I was asleep. I woke up and the oral surgery was done. It was very low stress, which did not trigger my MS. And the biggest thing with this particular method is remembering to do it, because when my body is in fight or flight mode because of the anxiety, it likes to just go right to the first thing it knows, which is run or fight. And I have to tell my brain, like, and this is a tool set, okay, we're in this fight or flight mode. Let's go to the toolbox, pull out the meditation stuff, start counting from 30 and start breathing right. And it's amazing how much it'll calm me down so quickly. So try it out. It might be worth it. It's not going to hurt you, and it might be actually beneficial. Comment below if you have a technique you really, really like, because that's one I really, really like. Okay, so this video is getting a little bit long-winded. I'm going to end it here, but if you found this valuable, please click like, share, and subscribe, because I'm trying to make it to that 1,000 number. It's just a really good challenge to have, and I really value your input, so please comment below. Is there a technique you use that you find very beneficial? I'm Cliff, this is Life with MS, and until we meet again, MS, you totally suck. Multiple sclerosis, I don't like you, but I'm gonna deal with you, and you're not gonna win.